Thanks, Ancestry.com.
There we go. They need to sponsor this.
I still have an Ancestry.com kit I haven't used.
I can't really use it because the problem with Chinese last names is that everyone uses the same name or a variation of it, and also there's like two different Chinese last names that they use in the same English spelling because reasons.
I was like, nope.
All right. Hey, folks. Welcome to So Chatty. I'm your host, Matty, aka So Matty Games, and I am here with another phenomenal group of my favorite people on the internet and just in the world. So, my first guest, he's my Friday Night Dungeon Master. He is an amazing human being. He is just silly as fudge sometimes and serious as a doornail other times. You just never know what you're getting with Mr. Quinn Sullivan. How you doing, sir?
I'm great.
Oh, I love you, man. Don't ever change.
You know what's sad? I just got the $3.99 joke.
Wow.
All right.
Wow, that was like so 10 minutes ago.
Wow. Hey, Monk, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the show. My next guest, he's the only way I can explain this man is he is the ultimate sage when it comes to just about anything, but especially D&D and TTRPGs. My good friend Jackie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Matty. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys. And saving the best for last, I am so excited to get a chance to sit down face to face and talk with this gorgeous human being. She is the queen of mapping and just an all-time fave of mine and so many people. Miss Devin Rue, how you doing?
Damn good. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
How are you?
I am awesome.
I have a new name for Devin, the Castellan of Cartography.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
I like that.
I can't keep up with all the names everyone keeps giving me.
I mean, Devin, it's just gonna come down one day, like when in a royal procession, it's just gonna be like that long-winded scroll.
I've already got something, like, I keep trying to, like, every time someone sends me something, I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I add it to the list, and it's almost long now.
That's a testament.
That's hilarious.
I still love the Mistress of Maps. That one.
Mistress of Maps.
Mr.
Yeah, I like that
Maps
one.
is a good one. Castellan of Cartography.
I mean, because the Mistress of Maps can take on so many meanings.
You have no idea. You should see my inbox.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Now I really want to.
We're already starting on
I
the
bet
right
you
foot.
do.
Yeah.
99.
And yeah, we're a little earlier than our normal time slot, just so that my good friend Quinn here can get to his normal game. Is that happening tonight?
It is happening tonight.
Awesome.
Our Mummy Lord campaign on Soul Bear RPG.
Yes.
Come watch as they slayed 3 Medusas, and they can get away with it. So,
Yay, Medusas.
Yeah, I'm with Jackie this time. Go Medusas.
There's like a little. I'll just wave my little mage, just begging for their deaths.
Ah. I love it. What is going on? Okay.
Nothing.
You should see. Oh. Oh, Carrie, thank you for the host. Okay, so we've got a fantastic panel here. Obviously, we we have quite a bit of uh, TTRPG knowledge and experience around the table here, and I'd really like to get started on. Let's. I usually start with some individual questions, but I think this time I'd like to start with a group question. And because this talk show is meant to be for and about the TTRPG Twitter community, I would like to have a round table discussion about your introductions to TTRPGs. Um, so who would like to start first with this one?
I will.
Okay, there we go.
um, let's see. How far back do I want to go? Do we want to like go like the first
Of course.
in the beginning?
In the beginning, I mean, but really, like, because
I
found.
exited my mother's womb and I had a D20 in my hand.
Wow.
Oh,
So begins this long biography.
Okay, well, the
No.
show's only like an hour long, so.
I know. No, like I kind of was in and out of Dungeons and Dragons growing up. My cousin Colin was way into it, way back in like the first edition Red Box days. He even wrote a few articles for Dragon Plus back in the 80s and stuff like that, and got
Oh,
published.
okay, yeah.
But my real leap into Dungeons and Dragons was me going across like Twitch, like and seeing what was going on, and wondering if there was anything good on, until I kind of ran across this lanky nerdy dude doing this weird voice on Geek and Sundry. It was Matt Mercer's Critical Role. And he was doing this Clarota. He was doing his Clarota sort of monologue and explanation. The party was going in their Underdark part of the campaign, way, way, way back in the day. And I kind of was looking into it, and I was like, first off, I'm hooked. I'm here every Thursday. Second off, I want to do this. So I sent out a tweet and I was like, hey, my brother and I are interested in starting a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And then Brian was the first one to respond. Well, I was like, if you're in the San Diego area, hit me up. Derek hit me up, my good friend, and he was like, hey, I'm down. I've always wanted to try it. And I was like, all right, cool. We're going to meet at Polite Provisions. You remember that is? He's like, yep, no problem. It's this bar in El Cajon. And then Brian was the other one. And was just like, yeah, I kind of don't know if I've ever always wanted to get into it. And I was just like, cool, see you Saturday, Polite Provisions. And he was like, all right. I didn't even know if he was going to show up, but he did. And before he did, he was like, I guess his friend Sai was like, you better not be playing Dungeons and Dragons, because I guess they did Overwatch every Saturday. And he was like, well, I don't want to lie to you. And so him and his girlfriend joined us as well. And we ended up playing Dungeons and Dragons for 3 years together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, ever since then, we started Soul Bear RPG, and it's been a wild ride ever since. And yeah, no, it's been a good time. And that's sort of just my introduction, because I mean, here we are now, me DMing 5e and then getting into all the other stuff like City of Mist, Vampire the Masquerade. I love Vampire the Masquerade. It's one of my favorite systems. Thanks to you, Matty. And then, yeah, no, and Star Wars, the Fantasy Flight game is a lot of fun too. That Genesis system. But yeah, no, that's my introduction pretty much.
Awesome. How about you, Devin?
I actually was over a friend's house, and I was 14. Let's start there. 14, walking through a friend's house, and there's this huge ruckus coming from another room. And you walk by and you're like, what's going on? And, because you're nosy as a kid. And there was a group of adults playing Dungeons and Dragons, men and women, which was awesome. So I was like, oh, I want to, what is this? Anything where I wasn't shunned for my imagination, I was happy about. And they sat down, started explaining what they were doing. And then I was like, okay, can I make a character? They're like, you can't just jump into a game in the middle of it. I was like, oh. So they're like, next time you come over, we'll set up like a really quick little game, and if you guys like it, you can play. So we did, and we became murder hobos ever since.
Oh
Because
my God.
14-year-old kids do.
I love that. Yeah, because I mean, mine started when I was 14 also, so that's awesome. I love to hear that. Jackie, what about you?
I started a little later. I started when I was 15, and I didn't actually even start playing Dungeons and Dragons yet. I actually, my best friend at the time literally was just telling me, play Neverwinter Nights, beginning to end, and then we'll start, and then we'll start. So I played the entire
Yes.
game. That was
Sorry.
my first introduction to D&D. Like, I was actually more immersed into the Forgotten Realms. And so by the time we got to play our first campaign, I was playing a level 20 cleric.
Whoa.
My entire life, level 20 cleric. We're playing an epic tier campaign. Go. And I'm just like, okay.
Okay.
I learned many important lessons during that time.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm happy they dumbed it down for a bunch of 14-year-old kids, because no.
And I was playing, and I played with a very vindictive DM, so it was just like I learned a lot of things really quickly.
So was that 3.5 or was that 4th edition during the time?
3.5.
Oh man, I was hoping. Okay, you poor soul.
Oh yeah. I there's the stories for that campaign are just massive, just so massive. But it lasted like 2 years, and it was like probably the most intense like insanity I've ever experienced in my life, and I will never forget it.
That is awesome. Yeah, I I started with, like I said, when I was 14, but it was literally like a bunch of friends my age. My uh okay, I don't know what's going on. Um
They're in the house.
No, I think, of course, as things would happen, it sounds like one of our smoke detectors is beeping, and we're having some issues fixing that. So, unprecedented here. I am going to take a quick pause in the show because I think my family needs some help right here. So, we will be right back, and please stay tuned. And I'm going to go back to the intro screen. On and and the screen's back. And hello, folks. We are
I
here.
too enjoy the taste of puppies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sauteed a little, you know.
yeah.
Just make sure you skin them first, because
Oh, are we back?
Sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
Well,
yeah.
the traditional Chinese method is to stew them. So cats too.
Whoa. Whoa, awesome. Yeah, okay. There's nothing like no, everything's fine, folks. No, it was literally just one of those situations where, smoke detector needs a new battery and it's just gonna beep every few seconds until you do it, and I'm the only person in the house that can really reach stuff. So there we go.
Take a broom to it.
All taken care of and fantastic. And
They call that the witch's method.
And the great thing is that this stuff can be
Obviously.
edited out on YouTube, so it's all good. Saverick. Oh, so sad. So we were talking about our introductions to TTRPGs, and they were definitely across the board Dungeons and Dragons. And like I was saying, I had a similar experience where I started as a kid, but it was literally like my cousin and his friends. They were all like a year older than I was, and it just happened to be one of those. It was like a President's Day weekend, so we had the day off from school, and they had like, I don't know, 12 of his friends come over, and they were playing D&D in the garage. And I mean, for the first few hours I was just hanging out, just bored, and then they asked me, hey, you want to make a character? And I was like, all right. And from there I was hooked.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking like 13 players and being like, so be it. You're the fellowship.
right.
Yeah, that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
You walk in, oh, you joined the
Lucky
fellowship. All right, we'll go.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was out, but they pulled me back in.
Yeah. And that was like that situation where it was I for whatever reason, and I don't even know why I did. I made like a neutral evil fighter, right? And I think I've told this story before. Douchey guy made a monk, and he did something I didn't like, and I killed him. And
Whoa!
we never
As
got
one does.
we never
As one
got
does.
along after that. But it just kind of worked out that way. I mean, we weren't really friend material, but we still hung out in the same circles, and that was
Frenemies.
yeah, it was always weird when he would host like the New Year's Eve parties and stuff, because like his parents like had a really nice house and stuff, so we always went there, and we'd play D&D like all night for New Year's Eve. That was our thing. And yeah, it was always really awkward going over there. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
I mean, I host a yearly New Year's Eve party in my house all the time. We play board games.
Awesome. I love board games.
I finally got that rolling shelf, so now it's like literally all of my board games on a giant rolling shelf of just insanity. There's like over 80 board games in that shelf. It's glorious.
Yes. Yeah, I think if you have less than 50, you're just like joking.
Well,
like...
the funny part is like literally this week I literally got 3 came from Kickstarters, and I was just like, huh, this is gonna be a busy weekend again. I see.
Oh, damn it. I'm sorry. I'm joking.
What are you doing to yourself, man?
Oh, no.
Just calm down.
Oh, no. What did I do here? I've ruined the show, folks. Here we go. Thank you. And I'm so glad you're here for the very last episode of So Chatty. No, but but I
I have a lot of maps that you don't.
To be fair, I want to buy some of those maps. I just can't afford them.
Yeah,
My maps are free.
I do have Patreon access ones, so
There you go.
I think
yes.
$10. So
But of
See, now
course,
you get everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's why I wanted
Almost
it more. I wanted the
Almost.
cartography lessons, and I was like, I'm gonna get into this, and I tried, and I was like, you know what? To be fair, it's getting better and better, I think.
I think for me, I'm working on my city mapping, and that's like a pain because I decided to actually take like a crash course in civil engineering to just figure it out.
Whoa. I
Okay.
had a joke, but I'm not saying.
oh,
Hey,
all right,
you
yeah.
made me say the one earlier.
What's that? Huh?
Come on.
What? The map?
No.
Oh.
You made me say my joke earlier.
Oh.
Well, that wasn't on stream.
No. Oh, okay. Well, fine.
I know Jackie could take a joke, but I don't know the rest of the internet can't.
Oh, okay. Well, then you should say that. Like, oh, it's not an internet joke.
Yes, this is
It's
not
not
an
an-
internet
it's
joke.
It's not an internet salvageable joke.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
It's a he'll be hunt down with pitchforks joke instead
Yep.
of me just having people correct how I pronounce shit.
And then after that, I'm leaving my own channel. I'm like, peace out, guys. Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um,
And we never hear from him again.
But
Right,
Captain, the
right.
ship's still good.
yeah, and we definitely have a good time during pre-show. That is always fun, and there's always something. Always something. Yeah. So since we brought up the thing you cannot pronounce, Devin.
Right. Yeah. You know what you should do? You should record the pre-shows and offer those to patrons.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
That would be worth
dun
it.
dun. Okay, here we go. Maddie signing up for Patreon. All right. So I'm not gonna make you pronounce the thing.
I can't.
Because
Should we all try together?
that is something. Why don't the rest of us attempt to pronounce this? And so first,
Jackie, you first.
And
God.
first tell
Why
Kat
me?
what we're pronouncing.
so this is it is the first age of Middle Earth. We're talking about the
Yes.
land.
The Northern Lands.
The Northern
and
Lands.
First age of Middle Earth.
And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type this into chat. And my first attempt at it was Beleriand. But, I mean, that's...
I was gonna go with Beleriand.
Yeah,
as well.
that's...
I mean, that's just me breaking it down phonetically, and I'm hoping
Right.
that's the best way we can hope for.
But most likely it's probably pronounced like New Zealand.
Right. This brings up a thing where when I was in high school, I read the Dragonlance novels and I loved them, and I always pronounced the evil god's name as Takasis. I did.
I'm sorry, Tacosis?
No, Takasis.
Oh.
I did. Takasis.
Taco assist.
This is me like pronouncing Tarasic for the longest time.
But of course, I watched or hear some. Oh, no. I listened to an audiobook decades later, and it's Takesis, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds fantastic. Like,
Right?
What's that?
I'm like, Takasis was terrible. I hated that name. I didn't get it. Takesis, that's fantastic.
Watch, and that person was still probably pronouncing it
You
right.
must pronounce the evil god of Taco Assist.
Taco Assist, yes. So I like Beleriand. You want to give this a shot, Quinn?
Sure, Beleriand.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah, and
I'm sure we made some poor Tolkien scholar cry. And
Oh, yeah.
have their eyes bleed.
but that's okay. We did it, Devin. You didn't have to. So, but you are working on this map, and
Yes.
so please tell us about it.
It's so hard not to be overly sarcastic and go, it's a map.
Right? I love you. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a map, and I'm drawing it.
It's a map. God.
Yeah. No. I actually had Jason Charles Miller. If anyone knows who he is, he wrote the well, he writes lots of stuff, but most people know him for writing the theme song to Critical Role, their first season, and then doing a lot of music on Geek and Sundry.
Right.
He became a patron of mine and asked if one of the maps that I could make, because I do them on suggestion, is if I would make a map of the first stage of Middle Earth, because although you can find maps of it, they're drawn by somebody other than Tolkien.
Okay.
So it doesn't quite have the same style.
Yeah.
And everyone who sees my maps tells me the same thing, that I look like I draw from Tolkien. Who knows? I don't see it, but other than our mountain shading, sure. And
you know, I mean, there are some similarities.
Okay.
Like
in a very, I mean,
I'm gonna have to agree with Devin here. Not gonna lie, I think Devin's is a lot better.
Well, obviously, but you know, I mean,
I mean
that's pretty bare bones.
She puts a lot more detail, and you know, that's not what I'm saying. I was trying to pay her a compliment, but that's okay. I'm a big dork that likes maps, so I don't know.
So do I.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works. Yeah, so he asked me if I would make a full illustrated map. So I am, and I absolutely love it because I'm a huge Tolkien fan to begin with. So, and I've actually drawn this map before, but I don't have copies of it, so I get to draw it again.
That's fun because you get to like kind of rediscover it in a way.
Well, the first time I drew it was sort of it was sort of bare bones because I was trying to kind of make it match the Middle Earth map.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And if you don't actually know how the whole thing works, is originally in the first age of man, Middle Earth itself expanded further west, and all of that now goes underwater, and then we have the third age, which is what we're looking at in like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So it was neat to have, you know, my original illustrated map of Middle Earth, and then have like a little thing that I could flip down, because I am this big of a dork, a little thing that I'd flip down that would show the extended from the Middle Age, so we just show it through time.
Even the Eastern lands.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I need to see this map.
And
yeah, that would be a lot of unpacking, but yeah.
How is that progressing?
Good.
Okay.
I have no idea how the fuck to answer that. It's progressing. I'm drawing it.
Well,
there we go. Well. I swear to God, I need to get on voice chat in Discord with this woman every day, because I just want to talk to her every day. This is fantastic.
You can. I'm on Discord every day, sitting there waiting for someone to talk to.
I know. And folks, yeah, if you aren't in Devin's Discord, you really should be. I really am. I'm in a lot of effing Discords, and I try to do them all, and
should I be censoring myself?
No. I'm sorry.
Good, because I fucking curse like fucking crazy.
So, for the folks at home, I have had my mother-in-law live with us for many, many years. And I used to swear like a trucker or a sailor or a person that or like a Devin. And you know, and
the three working classes.
But you know, it's like you don't want to drop those F-bombs in front of, you know, good old mom-in-law. So I started censoring myself, and I can't not do it now.
So I had this question because I obviously don't censor myself. But when you say the word effing, doesn't everyone just think fucking anyhow? So are you really censoring yourself?
Well, the thing is, I don't know why, but as long as you don't really say that, and I mean, it's not like I never say it. It's like it never comes up. It does come out, especially when
Frack, yeah, it does.
But
Right.
I've
Here's the thing, though.
honestly,
Yeah,
You
no,
it wasn't a curse word, and then we made it into a curse word. So now we're making effing and fracking and fricking into curse words.
yeah, I mean, I say fudge a lot.
I'm
No,
just
Me
saying.
too, but I'm usually eating it.
Yeah, and
I
I
usually do
never
biscuits
eat
and gravy.
fudge. It's just like, it's kind of like how I watch way too much Big Bang Theory, and I say things like drats and jeepers because Sheldon does. I don't
Okay,
know.
but that's just funny.
These are just things I pick up, and yes, so.
To be fair, I'm trying to bring back groovy still, and it's still a thing.
Oh God, I want Groovy to come back so hard. I said that right too.
Yeah. Everything you've said so far today has been pretty spot on there.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm good with words or something, or groovy.
Like,
Groovy with words.
you're
Oh.
good with words.
Oh,
Like, like
my
is
God.
the key word.
oh my gosh. Oh, wow. So,
Aren't you happy you invited me?
yes,
This is now the Devin Rue show.
I am so happy. I would like you to come back for every episode.
Okay. I have Saturdays open.
Awesome. So I would like to cut over and Jackie, you are working on this. It's a Call of Cthulhu based choose your own adventure. And I would like you to talk to us about that because it sounds fantastic.
Okay, so I'll give some quick background. This year when I went to Gen Con, I had the privilege of having a press talk with the folks at Meta Arcade, who is doing this mobile game app called Cthulhu Chronicles, and it's a choose your own adventure Cthulhu Call of Cthulhu game,
Right.
and they have like multiple stories and everything. And so we were talking about things, and eventually there's going to be a plan for like future content creators, and so I thought this was a good opportunity to test my waters and, work on something different that I've never done before. And a choose your adventure has always been something kind of fun I wanted to do. So I thought, well, why not do it in the pretext of Call of Cthulhu? Because why the hell not?
Sounds fantastic.
Sounds fantastic.
It's
So
Cthulhu.
it's Cthulhu, exactly. It's like, why wouldn't I do it? And then so I kind of used the basis of like the Call of Cthulhu mechanics, but I completely simplified it to like just 5 stats, and one of them is health and sanity, which by the way, you can never regain sanity. Go figure. And basically I kind of set it up where the narrative still continues the story, but you're going to have moments where certain avenues of paths will only be available to you based on your dice rolls. So if you roll a certain path, it will tell you, go to this page. If you roll this, go to this page. And so it's been an interesting endeavor. There's a few moments where, where you actually can make a choice and you can decide where to go. And I kind of went I trimmed it down a little bit because I didn't want it to be like this like 200-page epic. I wanted to be like a short story with a very simple premise and guiding you through the story that's inspired from it, which is The Lurking Fear. That was like a very fun one to do, I thought, and I was like, all right, we're gonna play with it. We're gonna give my hand at Choose Your Adventures. There's a few people in the community who actually reached out to me about it and said, here's some like resources that we used before for our own Choose Your Adventure writing. And so I kind of used a few of them, and they were actually really helpful. But I ended up going back to my original method most of the time anyways, but it's shaping up. The best part is I get to use a lot of like these cool like 1920s like photos from like the Library of Congress because they're all public domain. So it's just like I could just pull from all of that and it's just like great. I have to. I don't have to. I have source material that I don't have to worry about like pilfering from. They're all from the Library of Congress. They're free to use.
Right.
So that's been fun. But I will say though, looking for specific photos gets a little daunting after a while.
What's the writing method for that like? Because I can only imagine. I'm writing my own book now after not being paid as a writer for a long time.
Join the club.
Exactly. But like, when you're creating your outline, does it just kind of split off into separate regions, like you're writing for a video game, or specifically
kind of? It's very similar in that regard. Where like if because I have some background in computer programming, so I kind of wrote a giant flowchart. And that's usually one way to do it. You don't have to do the real flow chart, but as long as you like have an outline of like your branching paths and understanding where things start branching off, that's usually the important part. Some branches will intersect with each other, and some will not. And so you just have to figure out which ones will and which ones won't. And kind of that. And my other suggestion is color coordinate it. It saves you a lot of grief. Because then you can follow the main threads. So I think in mine, I have 3 main threads with 4 different outcomes.
Jesus.
And yeah, well, I mean, there's one that's like you live, and then there's at least like a couple where you obviously are maimed and horribly destroyed, and then there's like one that you might be alive, you might be dead, you're not quite sure.
So quite clearly, Cthulhu is driving you insane.
Yes.
Goal. Yeah. And that really is.
It's been a lot of fun writing it though. It's especially since I'm not really adept at writing like horror. And the last time I wrote horror, I wrote it for like a contest, and that piece people actually did enjoy that. I just didn't win, but it was very enjoyable. So I was like, all right, we'll try my hand at suspense horror, psychological horror again. It's been a while.
I couldn't even imagine trying to no. My brain doesn't like to sit on things like that for too long, or it latches. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No. I would like to play a game of Call of Cthulhu. I love the board games that are based on it and stuff like that. I really want to read this book though. I am
it's
fascinated
like
by this.
it's gonna be a little booklet. It's not gonna be like a huge choose your adventure book. Like it's gonna be a short one.
But that's kind of what they were like, when we were kids.
Oh yeah, they were really short. I remember the Goosebump ones. Those were like really short.
Yeah, they were,
you had like
maybe and very simplistic in a sense, but there were a lot of different things that you could do. Though it always seemed like whatever choices I made when I was a kid, I was always dying every time, or something terrible.
Yeah, I kind of kept it simpler for the endings. Like I was like, all right, I could easily write 17 different ways you can die, but I choose not to.
Sounds like a biography. 17 different ways to die.
That's amazing.
By Seth MacFarlane.
So we do have our first chat question, and this is from Fairy Reen. And she would like to know, how do you find is the best method for each of you for tracking projects and keeping everything on track? I mean, and this is a really good question because I think especially as our projects grow, it can get a little crazy if we aren't finding some way to organize and track it all. How do you do that?
Do you want to take a crack at it, Devin?
Yeah. Sure, what the fuck? Let's live dangerously. I'm actually an extremely organized person, but the answer I'm going to give will frustrate the hell out of everyone because I have a near eidetic memory.
Well, there you go, folks.
Yeah.
You wonder why, like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have things written down because when I do work with other people and I keep everything in like a OneNote. Unfortunately, though, I'm pretty sure if anyone read it, it would just look like it's coded and I'm possibly like a spy because it's only keywords so I can recall it really quickly and that's about it. So sometimes it's somebody's Twitter handle, sometimes it's like an off reference they made to the map and then I'll just know what it is. So I write down the off reference.
Okay.
Not the person, not the map, just, I don't know. So yeah, that's the answer. Most people are like, oh, great, fine.
Well, but I mean, if that's your truth, that's your truth.
I mean, I want to lie.
I mean, her truth is that she's a spy.
I'm a spy.
I mean,
Just
but
like
I
in a
think
game
we
of
all
Resistance.
kind of like thought that anyways. So.
Yeah. You didn't know
Pretty
this, but
obvious.
she's currently broadcasting from Russia. Oh shit. Where are they?
Comes Assassin's Creed, Quinn.
What about you, Quinn?
What was the question again?
How do you get you can't even remember? Oh, stop
I
back.
can't remember organization.
How do you keep
Like,
track
you
and
don't
keep
organize
track of
all
your
the
stuff.
projects that you're working on?
Oh God. Despite my last spoken sentence, organization, have them in priorities. Like, okay, this is something that absolutely needs to get done. Like setting up my, real life business where I just kind of crashed into a really big opportunity for myself, and then, stuff that is not finished in my own, personal life, like my book. Even though I'm 12 chapters in, I still can't find an ending, and I probably won't for a long time. And then stuff I could get to later, and you just kind of file it away in those categories, I guess. So, like Lost in Time was eventually going to be a module I published on the DM's Guild. Not anymore, but it's all finished. I wrote that with my brother and everything.
Right.
So, I mean, that that you file that away in like the pretty much finished category, and the only thing I have in that middle category of personal things that I would like to get done is the book. So it's just like it starts with an idea being like, oh yeah, maybe I could get back to that later, and then sometimes stuff gets into the middle category, and I'm like, there's just nothing here, and so I toss it away. But until you find that one thing that you can actually kind of focus and work on.
Right.
I have a suggestion for anyone who does want to be a writer or create campaigns. If I can be so awesome to plug somebody that I work with a lot, which is World Anvil.
Oh.
World Anvil is
Yes.
great.
That is the absolute best, because I am creating the world of Cortrium with my patrons, and I'm just dropping everything on there. One, because there's a bunch of people sending me crap, and two, it's just a fantastic way to stay organized. But it was actually developed because Janet, who's the Demetrius and Janet are the ones who started the website. Janet is a writer, and she wanted something that would be far more organized to build a world and write the story. And Demetrius was like, oh, okay, well then let's build your website. And that's how World Anvil started. So fantastic tool if anyone's paying attention.
Yeah,
Yes.
terrific.
Is a good
And
tool.
I actually am working on a submission of submitting Noakes to your world because
Yay.
Do you have the Raven Queen as a deity? Because that's kind of a.
Oh well, this is
No.
like after retirement Noakes,
Oh.
Yeah. The setting up I don't know.
has a cabin in the woods.
Taking care of orphans, that kind of thing,
Gotcha.
like, yeah, feeding the hungry, and yeah.
You'd probably want to worship Marna then.
Okay, I like it. So, what about you, Jackie?
I also have the same issue that Devin has. I have a near idyllic memory as well, so I can recall most conversations that I see and hear.
I'm not surprised here. Okay.
So the only thing I really do to just help myself sometimes is I actually do the stereotypical mind palace thing.
Yep,
Just
I have one.
yeah, so that's what I do too. But really, when it comes down to keeping, in terms of keeping track of ongoing and finished projects, it's really simple. If it's finished, I don't care. I don't really think about it anymore. I just like, it's gone. We're done.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, all the ongoing projects are still active. That's all I care about.
Okay, to be fair, I don't have an eidetic memory, but I do use the Mind Palace technique too.
Yes.
It's super useful.
And I will say, the only thing I'll give for somebody else, and the only reason I had to recently put down writing something was because I had such a backlog of articles for Gen Con that I could not fathomably organize I had to organize the release times for a lot of them, and I also had to make sure when I started them, so that I made sure I wasn't too late on some of them, especially since some of them were time sensitive. And so those were the only time that was the only time I ever actually had to commit to writing something down to just keep myself together. But other than that, I usually don't have to commit. I don't actually have to put a whole lot of cognitive effort to remembering something.
Well,
which is why my
hate you too.
Which is also why when anybody asks me anything about my campaign setting from that I started writing like 10 years ago, I can recall it with fairly good accuracy and still recall the names and character classes of over 300 NPCs.
Yeah.
With backstory.
Yeah.
See, now I fall into the category of so not eidetic. Like, so for one, I'm 41 years old. I spent most of my 20s doing things I probably shouldn't have. But it was fun, and I had a lot of experiences. And with that, the brain doesn't retain as much, and yeah. So I have literally, and I know Joy made a joke about this in chat where she uses Google Docs and Luck. Yeah, I do.
That's a fair technique.
I have that little memo program on my phone that if I'm out and about away from the computer, like I'll bring that up and I'll start typing away at what's on my brain just so I get it down. Because once it's, it leaves, it's gone. It's just gone. And my desk has, well, right now it's only, because two of them are next to me, but yeah, I've literally got 4 little notebooks and pads and things.
How my pen is.
And yeah.
Oh, I have one.
And it's a mess, and then I have the little calendar next to my desk here where I've got every little thing and then I found that if I don't put it on my phone calendar, oh, forget it. I'll forget it too. So there we go. So not eidetic.
You give yourself too little credit. You remember things from Barovia quite well.
I love it.
In our Threads of Fate campaign.
Well, Barovia burns into your brain. It's just one of those things, folks,
No one has played at my Barovia where I will give you psychological traumas the last 10 years.
And
good.
It was within the last year, and that stuff retains all right. No, honestly, I do have a decent memory. It's just for whatever reason, it's so not what it used to be. And if I don't write things down or remind myself, like with little things on the calendar, I forget so easily. So. Yeah.
Well, I also choose to remember things, especially because of the fact that my mother and I are vindictive to each other about recalling facts to each other. So we will go through a long debate recalling fact sets of a discussion we've had, and it will be a long discussion about everything. And then we'll start bringing things back all the way from when we were when I was 2.
Yeah. No, I mean, because
so you have a mother.
Right?
Oh God.
Now,
So
does your partner hate you? I can't win any fucking argument.
See, no, that's the problem. Like that's why I'm single still, because everyone fears that I remember everything. I remember every
who, like, mid conversation goes, "Fuck, you're right," and then just walks away from me. Yeah, she's learned a little bit. I tell everyone all our conversations are being recorded for quality services.
I
$3.99 a minute.
fucking love that. Okay, that is
You getting a bill at the end of this, honey.
Fantastic. And this show is brought to you by the letter F for fucking fantastic. All right.
And you didn't even whisper it. That was awesome.
No, I know. And I honestly, and when I started this show, I was really making concerted effort going. I talked to my friends from Nerdy POV before the show, the first episode, and I was like, guys, I think I might want to tamp down the swearing. So maybe if we just try not to throw it out. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But just maybe be conscious. I don't know.
Then you invited me on here.
Yeah, there you go.
What the fuck were you thinking?
Open the floodgates. There we go.
Clearly,
folks.
this is where the whole show burns.
The Pandora box.
Okay,
down in a blaze of glory, honey.
Yeah, it's all good because you know what? Fuck it.
Fuck it.
So,
fuck it, we're doing it live. That's my favorite thing to say now.
That's right. So Quinn, there's a new show coming up on Soul Bear. I'm a big fan of Soul Bear. Let's all be frank here. I play on 2 of their games. I love the fuck out of them. They are my peeps. They're my fam.
We're not even trying anymore.
No, I'm just not even trying.
The word is gonna be fucking fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, if we need lessons, we just watch Peter Capaldi for like 20 seconds.
Oh yes.
And yes, that was true. The first time we heard Joy cuss on a pre-stream with Threads of Fate, we lost our brains. We fucking lost our shit. So anyway,
that was pretty fucking hilarious. Sorry.
Yeah, I know it was.
Yeah,
it really was.
And you have no excuse because you've watched me as Mavari, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
Brought this on yourself, honey.
It's all good. I have no regrets, and don't at me. It's all good. But there's this a new show coming. It starts October 15th, which is a Monday, and it's going to be run by our friend Brian. And it's called
God Bless His Soul.
The comedy, and we were just talking about Strahd, but the comedy of Strahd. Would you like to tell the folks at home about this new concept?
Sure. Do you like Young Frankenstein? Do you like Mel Brooks? Do you like comedy horror? Well, then I got a show for you. Coming up not next Monday, the following Monday.
Yes.
On October 15th, you're going to witness ridiculous characters enter the very serious and dark realm, or sort of serious and dark realm of Barovia. That's pretty much it.
All right. And
I'm expecting musical numbers.
Well, no.
So am I.
Yeah. No, you won't
There
be
better
hearing
be one really good Madeline Kahn on there. That's all.
It'll be coming from Brian.
Okay.
Our DM, not from me. So.
And I'm telling you, I
I'm
can
expecting
see
one
Brian doing that.
piece.
Yeah. And my character is a Waterhavian noble who is completely full of himself and does not consider anybody outside of the city of Waterdeep to be truly noble. So if they do not have a Waterdeep title, he does not refer to them as Lord, Count, whatever. He's just going to say Mister. So it'll just be like Mr. Strahd. And we'll see how far that goes for him. But him and Strahd have something in common. A little preview. He, too, got his powers from the dark powers of Barovia. However, his dark power has a name instead of some unknown, fascinating dark power that Strahd is just like, oh, I
Please
became a
tell me it's like
vampire.
Stan.
God. Yeah. Actually, we're getting meta here. My dark power's name is Brian.
The life of Brian has finally come full circle.
Oh my god.
Mind blown. You could see it. It happened.
I fucking love this show. I swear to God. I love
Come
doing
by
this
Mondays.
show.
I wish Brian was watching this, but he's at work. Oh man.
I love you people. Thank you.
We're going to be talking about this, but no. And our friend Martin has a pretty hilarious character in mind, Griffolian, and we're going to be joined by my friend Lamar, who is a professional comedian. The man sold out across Los Angeles. NPC Bree is joining us as well, along with Shrieky and Griff, and we're going to have a hell of a good time all playing together.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I love it. I cannot wait. This is definitely going to be another.
I will be preparing the tissue for the barrels of laughing. I will be committed to
Laughing.
and possible mourning as their characters are viscerally destroyed.
Not where I went with that.
You know, but in a comedic fashion.
In a comedic fashion, of course.
Obviously.
I need my desk to sustain me, so you know.
So
Ryan Rosnar is not going to die.
Oh yeah, you say that now.
No, we have too much in common.
Right.
The dark powers of Barovia protect me.
Brian,
This guy is very full of himself. Just so you know.
So that's gonna be a stretch, you know.
I invoke the power of Brian.
In Brian's name,
It's literally
I smite thee.
The power of Brian compels you.
The whole conversation came up with Brian being Strahd and being like, the dark powers gave me my gifts, and be like, and then Ryan being like, oh, you know Brian too?
Hey, it has to be meta. That's how it works.
Yeah. What? His name's Brian. I thought you'd be on a first name basis. After 4
Obviously
years.
not. You're not the chosen one.
Exactly.
So we are we've hit that hour mark, and so we'll probably wrap things up here pretty soon. I do want to give the folks in chat just another minute or so. If you have any more questions for the panel or for an individual here, please pop it into chat. We would love to answer them for you. But so let's see. We've got so we covered the map. That's in progress.
It's being drawn.
It's being drawn.
It is, yeah.
I feel like I could have almost heard you say it's being drawn, Matthew.
There was a duh at the end of that.
Yeah.
It is duh right after.
We've covered the Cthulhu Choose Your Own Adventure, and we've covered the Comedy of Strahd. And with that, and I'm not really seeing much coming up for questions. So I think we could wrap this thing up with we'll go around and I'll have each of you just tell everyone where they can find you on the internet. Obviously, your Twitter handles are on the screen, and most folks here are smart enough to know that. But you probably have other things going on that people can find online, and we will start with Devin.
I am all over the internet as Devin Rue. Everywhere.
That's some great branding you got there.
And yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. I do assume much, said. I do assume too much. Jackie, what about you?
You can find me on the internet as Death by Mage.
See?
Wow.
It's so
Okay.
simple.
That's
It's so
okay.
simple. The
Oh,
branding is
I
easy.
forgot. I didn't do Mage. I did Jackie, or I did Jackie. Oh God.
You did Jackie, you did
Ah,
Mage.
man.
So I have this running joke with my wife that I every morning I get up and I look out the windows and I just am waiting to see swarms of people walking around with like no pants on. Because when you're somebody with a near eidetic memory, it is amazing that anyone even remembers to fucking wear clothes, much less
Wow.
something they said 5 seconds ago. So go ahead.
Wow. Okay. All right. And Quinn.
Solobon, pretty much everywhere. On Twitch is the only exception, which is Solobon09. Then you can catch me on Soulbear RPG every Friday and Saturday. Friday for the game that the guy to my top left is in, Threads of Fate, where he plays a kobold grave cleric of the Raven Queen.
Dwarf Dragonborn.
Sure. And
He's adorable. That's
Where
right.
was that near eidetic memory you were just talking about?
Yeah.
I never bragged about any eidetic memory.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays for our Mummy Lord campaign, Lost in Time. That's a lot of fun. Go check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey folks, thank you so much for joining us. This has been So Chatty. I am your host, Matty, aka So Matty Games, and of course you can find me everywhere on the internet as So Matty Games because yeah, that's me. And yeah, go ahead and check out the new store, sonerdware.com. Please, it's great. I love it. Hope you love it too. Maybe not. But you can get cool stuff like this, and yeah, and I even have a little friend page on the bottom that links to some stores of friends that I love, including Rue Inc. Because I'm a big fan. Um, and we just this week opened the Dumpstat Charisma store, so please go check that out. And of course, you can check out Joy's collection of D&D inspired sports team logos. She's got more coming, but you can go straight to her stuff by going sonarware.com/joy because she is literally a joy. And with that, we're going to go ahead and click over to our thank you screen. There we are, all teeny tiny. And there's everyone's websites. Join us next week. My guests, and we'll be back at normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. My guests are going to be the three co-hosts of the Ladies Slaying Dragons podcast. That is Kiana S., Keely, Halfling Trouble, and Misty Vander. Really excited to sit down and talk to them. And the following week, I've got a supersized panel pulling out 4 folks with amazing experiences in the realm of D&D and TTRPGs. We have Severick, DSC Nick, Jeff James Jones, and Stop That Old Woman Hannah. So that's going to be another great show. So please come back, join us, and yeah, thank you all for joining us. I love you all to pieces. And so let's. Oh, whoops. Hold on. I did not do that right. Did I do that right? Oh, there we go. Okay, so here is some music for you all. Goodbye, goodbye. We love
Stare
you.
into the maddening void, everybody.
And